Now back to the #1 truth fighter in Boston, the Warren Ballentine Show, only on NewsTalk, 1090 AM, WILD Boston, where information is power.
Log on to thetruthfighters.com.
No one on the corner has swagger like us. Swagger like us. Swagger like us. No one on the corner has swagger like us. Swagger like us. Swagger like us. No one on the corner has swagger like us. Swagger like us. Swagger like us. No one on the corner has swagger like us.
Mr. Ballentine in the building, swagger on 100,000 trillion. All right, Truth Fighters, 877-373-9766, number to dial. Let's go back out to the phone lines. Let's go to Dre, line 6 in Boston, WILD, 1090. What's up, Dre?
Hey, what's going on, Warren?
You got
it. Truth Fighter?
You got it, brother.
Listen, we're going to have to go back and check the family roots, because that last segment you closed out with is exactly what I was going to talk about as far as racism in this country. Just make a couple of quick points if you let me. It's about what we knew growing up in Chicago and in the South Side, about what our parents told us about what the Klan thought.
Right.
And that would be that they would have their people in government, the Supreme Court, and their man in the White House. And I've been going back researching a little bit. I've been thinking about that. They didn't mean, I don't believe, the federal government. I believe they meant state government. I also believe when they said the Supreme Court, they have what they want with this Supreme Court. And here's where I want your opinion on this. This is what and I don't mean this in no disrespect to our president. When they said their man in the White House, I always sat back and tried to figure out if that meant one of their men, a white man. I think now that when they meant their man in the White House, they was talking about a black man. And here's why. Because they knew they would be able to use that, because the American people are so dumb and so stupid, to rile up the racial animosity and the racial fears to where it could disguise what they were doing as far as the Tea Parties. Not saying the Tea Party's racist, but what those people who are stroking the Tea Party, a lot of their peripheral groups are racist. And the problem I have with that is when it comes to Barack not seeing this, and what I think Ms. Sherrod was saying, I don't think she was saying that Barack doesn't understand the history. I think what she was saying, and I would love for her to explain this more, in the South, as a black man, you had to be strong. As a black leader in the 60s and in the civil rights, you had to be strong. And right now, there's a perception of weakness in our president and our black leaders. And as we know, perception can become reality very quickly.
Brother, I thank you for the call, and I'm gonna say something to this call. I don't think President Obama is in there to cause racial divide. If he was in there to cause racial divide, he would be doing more things that were obviously racially sensitive to people. Whether that's doing, if he was in there to do racial divide, the first thing he would have did was put reparations on the book. All right. He said that he's not going to address reparations. So I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think what's happening in this country is this, and I said this on CNN. I think we have a country now that's different than the country that I grew up in. And I'm saying it in this sense. The country that I grew up in had a middle class. You had people who, even if they lost their job, could find employment within 2 or 3 weeks. You had people who didn't go to college and go get jobs making $40,000, $50,000 a year in steel mills and other manufacturing jobs. It could work there 20, 30 years. That's not the case today. And I will say this to my white brothers and sisters who listen to the show. Black people do have a different mentality than you have as far as dealing with situations. Because ever since we've been in this country, historically, we've been in situations. We've been terrorized through slavery. And yes, we have been oppressed through Jim Crow and other issues. The reason why we had networks, and see, what's amazing to me, white people will make the argument, well, y'all got black entertainment television. That's owned by white America. That's not owned by black people. White people own that. Viacom owns that. What about the HBCUs and the United Negro College Funds? Those had to be set up because we couldn't go to your schools. You guys set that up. In fact, the churches helped set that up because we weren't allowed to get educated in your schools. This wasn't something that black people set up. You guys set it up. But they don't know the history. They're using this to make the argument. And that's the point I'm trying to get people to understand. You have to understand what happened in the past in order to have the conversation about race today. Let's go to line 3, Vernell in Chicago, 106.3 FM. So, what's up, Vernell? Line 3.
You're doing with the right radio, because you will be persecuted for righteousness' sake. And I want to just comment on what you're talking about. It is very true. You have to understand the past in order to deal with the present. Right now, we have the issue. We have a lot of issues in our families where we're dealing with blended families, and in order to deal with racism, first we have to stop the racism from within. Right now, we have racism within, and it's hard for us to come together as a people and unite people, because we're fighting the racism within. We're acting as if though we're savages out there, which ties into what Obama called what he said was mongrels. You know, but I hate that he said it, but it needed to be said because that's how we are acting. We just had a 13-year-old child that was killed on yesterday.
Yeah, I talked about that a little bit. 22 times shot over in West Pullman.
Yeah, yes. I mean, it's just getting to the point where we have no compassion for anything that we do now as far as black people. I'm just talking about our black Americans, and we have to look in the mirror and deal with each other first and learn how to get along with each other and take our communities back, just like you spoke of earlier. We have to do that, because if we don't do that, the bridge, instead of bridging the gap, the gap gets bigger and bigger, and we will never understand our young people. And there will always be a gap, and we can't sit them down. I mean, I can count on one hand how many families actually sit down at the table now and
have dinner.
Yeah. You know, that's called being proactive. Right now the kids are raising themselves. That's why they're so tough.
Well, Vernell, you know, and I'm out of time for this segment. Thank you for the call. I love you guys in Chicago. One of the things that I'm going to keep harping on is we have the resources and the money to fix what's going on in our communities ourselves. We don't need the government to give us handouts. We don't need to blame white America. We got enough money in our communities to actually go out and make something happen. This is what I don't understand about Rush Limbaugh's listeners and Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity and the rest of those guys' listeners. I have an issue with their listeners, not because they listen to those guys. It's the fact that if these guys are making millions and millions of dollars every year, and they know folks are out of work, losing their job left and right in Ohio, in Michigan, and throughout the country, why wouldn't they, if they're really great Americans, start creating job opportunities for their listeners, for Americans? Their listeners are hurting right now. If I was making that kind of money and my listeners was hurting, there's nothing in the world I would be doing except trying to create job opportunities. 877-373-9766, number to dial. Targeting our money, though. I got a plan. And we'll talk about it Monday, right here on the Warren Ballentine Show.
Stay tuned for the Warren Ballentine Show. Call 1-877-373-9766. 1-877-373-9766. Call the #1 Truthfighter and stay with NewsTalk 1090 AM WILD Boston. BlackAmericaWeb.com. Boston and Nation's infotainment source for African Americans of Boston and around the world. And tune in to the Tom Joyner Morning Show with Sybil Wilkes and J. Anthony Brown and others like Jackie Reed with Inside the Story, D.L. Hughley, Jeff Johnson, the Reverend Al Sharpton, Stephanie Robinson, comedian Cheryl Underwood, Huggy Lowdown, Roland Martin, and the rest of the TJMS family. Only on one station. We mean one station that wakes you up. Partying with a purpose. Still #1 in the city of Boston. Boston, bar none.
Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan are still waking up to the Time Joyner Morning Show.
The Time Joyner Morning Show. Only on ILD.
There's not a pirate radio station here in Boston today in the black community in Roxbury or Grove Hall can touch the Time Joyner Morning Show.
The Time Joyner Morning Show on 1090.
Bloggers can go on these radio message board and crap on 1090 WILD. Want WILD to fail. Just talking loud, texting behind the computer, and ain't doing nothing nor saying nothing. Time Joyner is still the man. The
Time Joyner Morning Show. Weekday mornings only on Classic Soul and R&B, 1090 AM.
I just love Time Joyner.
WILD.
This commercial is so person sitting around listening to the radio. Doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Neither does That's So Gay. It's hurtful and insulting. When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off. Learn more at thinkbeforeyouspeak.com. Brought to you by Glisten and the Ad Council.